Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Moments That Define Us. Happy 2025. I can't believe we're in 2025. My gosh, it seems like time just going so fast. But I'm also very excited because we are at Denver Community Media again, recording today. And I have a very, very special guest that I feel like I met him recently, but I've known him for a while because my husband worked with him for years, it feels like now. So yeah, I'm excited to record with him in the new year because he's somebody that, like I said, I just recently met, but he's just have such a good energy, such a good energy, and also good people around him. So I can't wait for you to hear his story.
Oh,
So Michael Sullivan is a
yes.
guest today. Michael Sullivan, welcome to Moments That Define Us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for being a first guest, not only in the new year, but it also the first recording of season 4. So I'm really
Wow.
excited.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Ooh.
I have to tell everyone who you are because I was doing a little research on you, and yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
Michael Sullivan, he's a fashion designer, he's a tailor, and a co-founder of House Clothing. So Michael, now
Yeah.
you are a powerhouse and make an impact in the world and in the fashion industry. But where I wanted to start is I wanted to know about little Michael because
Yeah.
we have, we live in our lives, we have all of these defining moments that bring us to where we are right now.
Yeah.
And more defining moments will happen. But I wanted to start with little Michael.
Yeah.
Just talk about your childhood and, your family, where you grow up, and, those defining moments that bring you to today.
Yeah. Okay. So I was born and raised in Colorado Springs.
Ooh, you're native.
I'm a native. I know, wild. A lot of people ask me like, "Are you from, Atlanta or LA or New York?" No, I'm from
You
Colorado
could
Springs.
you look like you could be from New York. You have that New York vibe.
I do love New York, and I give my hometown a lot of ish, But yeah, I grew up in Colorado Springs, and my grandfather was in the military, and so when he got stationed at Fort Carson is when he moved my family. My mom was actually born in Germany. She was
Okay.
born in Heidelberg, and
Oh
so
wow.
they moved to the states, and then they moved to Colorado, and then the house she grew up in is the house my grandfather had built. And so my my grandparents, my immediate family, like we're all very close. And so actually, my mom's house is 5 minutes away from my grandmother's house. So it's a very we're just very close knit. The high school my mom went to was down the street from our house, and she went to my junior high school and my elementary school I went to. So we went to separate high schools, but yeah, like everything I grew up in was just like it was. It almost feels like tradition, if that
Okay.
makes sense. And so, growing up, my ma really supported my older brother, Terrell, and my twin sister and I. And so, my I guess like my first moments of expression was probably around when I was like 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my brother was in a production. I was like 3 or 4. My brother was in a production of The Pepito Story, and Debbie Allen flew in and produced the show.
Okay.
And loved Debbie Allen, and so she produced it. He was selected out of like 500 other people. Was a dancer, and I just remember seeing these butterfly wings, like this costume was like these butterfly wings, and like you could like lift your arms up and like see these butterfly wings kind of move. And I feel like that's when I really fell in love with like art and creativity and dance. And yeah, so from that time on, I was doing dance, and then I was doing choir, and then I did band, and then that turned into me doing dance, and then from dance I was a captain of a drill team, and then I did cheerleading, and I did competitive cheer from 8th grade up into college. And so it just from that moment moved into this moment today. For me, just like it really defined my creativity. So when I really fell in love with art. Yeah.
Wow, it seems like that you had your whole life has been surrounded by creativity, right? And it's really interesting because you said I express myself. My first expression was at 3, right?
Yes, yes.
Because I feel like a lot of the times we think, oh, it's just kids. They don't know who they are yet. They don't know what they want to do. But it feels like, it seems to me that from such a young age, you already, maybe you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
but you knew what you were drawn to, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So you mentioned you were a twin.
I'm a twin, yeah.
So you have a twin sister. So you have 2 more siblings, right? So
I do. I actually have 3. I have a stepsister, Robin. She's my older sister. And then I have my older brother. And then I have my twin sister. Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your relationship with your siblings
Yeah, so
and how they inspired you, or what they were doing, how that inspired you.
ooh, yeah, so my brother was definitely like an inspiration growing up, because he's 8 years older than my twin sister and I. So he was already in like junior high school, going to high school when I was young, and kind of just seeing him. He went to a private high school, Fountain Valley in Colorado Springs, and so like I just saw him like study really hard and like work, and then he was a part of the arts, and he did South African dance and a lot of different things. And my family, my entire family is really supportive of the arts, and so he was like that first, excuse me, that first like my initiation into the art, right?
Okay.
And then my twin sister and I, she's way more shy. Always been very shy, but as we've gotten older, she's a lot more open. But she was the shy one. I was way more outgoing. And so, she started playing the violin. And then I was like, oh, I want to play something. So then I started playing the trumpet. And so I just remember listening to jazz records or blues records and songs with my grandfather. He really liked, I forget what song it was, but we were listening to B.B. King when I was growing up.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, my mother-in-law loves B.B. King.
Okay.
And we play it now for our kids. Oh, I love B.B. King to so much soul in his music.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I feel like that was I feel like everyone in my family gave me a little piece of something, especially my mom. My mom's work ethic, the way she loves, the way she stands up for things, like that definitely is embedded in me. But yeah, as far as my siblings, I grew up with my twin sister and my older brother, and my older sister, she is from another relationship with my dad. So I didn't find out about her until I moved to San Francisco for college.
Okay.
I moved to college June 13th, 2010. And I received a message from her, I believe it was that same day or that same week or something. And I found out I had an older sister. So now we've been developing our relationship ever since. And
Okay.
she's been out here a few times. And I have nieces and nephews and other siblings that I haven't been able to meet yet.
Yeah.
I believe I also have another brother named Michael, which is also crazy. I just found that out too. So it's, just things that are happening. And so it's all still in development. You know what I mean? But
it's really nice that you've been able to develop, relationship with your other sister that you found out that you had later in life.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So what I hear is you talk a lot about when you talk about your family, you talk a lot about your grandpa and your mom.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your grandpa? And what I wanted to know, is he still alive, and kind of what influence he had on your life?
Yeah, no, he passed away in 2017, and yeah, it's really hard on my family, still is.
Yeah.
I don't think that the holidays have felt the same. We all try to make it feel that way, but he was the deacon of the church I went to. So was my grandma. She was the mother of the church we went to, and so we always grew up going to my grandparents' house, where my grandparents would watch my sister and I while my mom worked or something. So it was kind of this. It just felt like it was a symbiotic, really tied together connection. And my grandpa was the way he dressed, his style, his the way he carried himself, the way that he loved and cared for other people, really had an impact on me. And I just remember him always telling me, like, whatever you do, Michael, just do your best. Like, whatever it is, do your best. I remember when I started House in 2014, we had a conversation at his house, and he said, you know, your business is like a plant. Like, plant it, nurture it, take care of it. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to grow the way that you think it's going to. So just allow it to blossom. And I've been trying to allow it to blossom as much as I can, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, you know, I had so many conversations with people who lost loved ones, you know, especially when it comes to holidays, you know, because I used to think, why is it specifically holidays, right? Because I think holidays, you know, it's that time to where, you know, it's all about family, right?
Yeah.
Gather around, you know, either that there is a tree or no tree, you know, just family food and just like that goodness and love.
Yeah.
And so then when somebody's missing, it's really hard, right? So with your grandpa not being physically here, I wonder, do you feel his presence?
Yeah.
I don't know if you believe in that, but a lot of the times when people talking about somebody passing away, right? Like, oh my gosh, I see them in whatever. I always tell this story, like this woman I listened to, she said her mom passed away a long time ago, and she said her mom loved oranges. And she's like, I see oranges everywhere. So I wonder if you see your grandpa in anything, or how do you feel his presence?
Yeah. So one, I have a lot of my grandfather's clothing. So like there are like these suit jackets that I wear that are his. I also I'm also more interested in European spirituality, so like Ifa and divination, and so I talk to my grandfather all the time, or I talk to my ancestors, and I, you know, when I'm like praying and really just trying to commune with them. So I keep parts of him all the time, and I remember just recently I'd gotten into I'm in an amazing relationship, and I had always been afraid to like trust and like be myself and give a part of myself, and I just remember hearing my grandfather's voice saying like, no, this is good, like it's okay, relax. And so I really like listen to those things and focus on those things, and I feel him all the time. There's never a moment where I feel separated. Even when he passed away, right before he passed away, he was just telling me like stay focused, and you've got to work hard, like, you know, if you need help, like ask for it. Like, I'm not going to always be here, but, you know, just know that you can lean on your family. And so since then, I have been, and there's never been a moment where I feel like he's not with me. Like, I feel him all the time, consistently. And I just have those reminders in my house, like whether it's like his suit jackets. My aunt had these buttons made for a memorial for him, so I have those on my altar, and like just certain things to kind of just remind me of him a lot. You know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's nice to have, because what I hear you say a lot is that, you know, I hear his voice, you know, either that's about your relationship or that's about, you know, the work that you do. It's nice to have that, you know, to have that voice. And it's also, I know that it's hard when people are physically not with us, but I think it's also beautiful to know that they're here, that they're still here, right? Yeah. Even in spirit and in those advice and in any little physical thing that you have. Okay, so your mom.
Yeah. I love my mom. I am a mama's boy, even though I live through spirit, and I, you know, gender's a huge construct, but yeah, I'm definitely very close to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your mom. Tell me about the love you have for her and how she helped you become the person you are today.
Yeah, she's I don't know. It's hard. Incredible is not the right word, because and this is where the tears come.
Hey.
But you know, no, my mom, like, she is like soft and strong, bold, beautiful Black woman. She raised me to like stand up for what's right. Like right is right and wrong is wrong. She also took care of my siblings and I on her own and put herself through school. And I mean, at one point, my mom was like working a job, and then she was a correctional officer, and then she like moved from there, and then she wanted to be in the medical field. And so it was just like she saw certain things for herself, and if she saw something that wasn't right or she was mistreated, she just changed it. Mm-hmm. And so when I look at her, I never felt like, you know, I was missing anything. Like I had my grandparents, I had my mom, I had my aunts. My mom is one of four daughters, right? Yeah. So there's always that like really beautiful, strong feminine energy. And so like being around my mom, I could see her moving through life and navigating it in a way that not only was conducive for us, her kids, but like for her, like what was going to better her so that she could provide for us. I don't think there are not a lot of like queer people out there. And I'm not going to speak for all of us, right? All of the QT or QT BIPOC community. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but there are a lot of families that are strained. And in a lot of ways, I feel very blessed and very fortunate to have a family that is supportive of me, just me being me. And it was hard for my mom at first. You know, it strained our relationship while I was in high school after I came out. And there was like a whole bunch of stuff that happened between there. But for her, it was her kind of deprogramming and then taking a moment to say, no, this is my child and I want my child to be well. And I think it was a lot of fear for her. It wasn't hatred towards me. It was, you know, fear and hatred towards the way people are treated. Yeah. And so when I look at my mom, it's like, no, she does the work. Like she's able to address certain things. And I think if you want to develop your relationships with your parents or anyone, you have to be able to address a situation or something that may have been caused, like whether it be pain or anger or whatever, in order to move forward. And she has done that. You know what I mean? And so that's why I feel like we're so close. You know what I mean? And it's like, girl, what you doing? Like that's just our relationship. And so yeah, my mom is like, she's a bee's knees. She's everything. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much because so many things that you said that I wanted to dive deep, but it just, first of all, I wanted to say that what you said, being around that beautiful feminist energy, you know, I love when especially men talk about women in such a beautiful and respectful way, because you know, you hear, we are now in like this weird climate where both men and women think that they can say this horrendous things and that's okay. Right. So when I hear men talk so nicely about their mom and about their aunts and about their, you know, friends and any female that that impacted them in any way, that's beautiful. So you said you came out in high school.
Yes. I can't, well, let me preface this.
Okay.
I've always been me. So when I say came out, I don't think I needed to, but I just, you know, this is me. Like, this is what you get, right? But I came out to my sister a little bit earlier. So I think I was in like 7th or 8th grade.
Right.
9th grade, freshman year in high school is kind of, oh gosh. Like going back to those moments, like it still impacts me. But in 8th grade, there was a situation where one of my mom's friends had confronted her and told her that one of my friends had asked her mother if it was okay to be gay. It was like this huge convoluted story. And then my mom asked about it and had that friend come over. And we just had this discussion, and she was just telling me these like really horrible things, like, you know, about having, you know, friends who were queer or gay and then being murdered, and me knowing right from wrong. it was just weird having this woman in my mom's house telling me these things, where my mom never let me feel inferior or let me feel like shamed or anything. I felt really shamed then. And so I kind of like said, no, Mom, no, I'm not gay. You know, like I kind of like hid that. And then I remember my mom finding my MySpace page, and so fast forward to like a year later, my mom finding my MySpace page, and just really being, hurt and upset and not understanding. And, we grew up Southern Baptist, so we grew up in the church and things like that. And so I think it was like really hard for her. And for like 2 years, from like my freshman year up into my junior year, our relationship was kind of strained because we were always very close. And I just remember having this moment. I had friends over, and my mom's boyfriend at the time was there as well, and we were just on her patio and we were talking and just being open. And my mom said, I'm just afraid. I'm just scared for you. I'm just worried for you. And I just told her, I said, Mom, like at the end of the day, if I die, at least I die me. Like I can't be anybody else but me. If I am hurt, whether I'm hit by a bus or hurt by somebody else, like I have to live as me. I can't, conform to anything. And I had been living as me up until the point I came out, which is crazy, right? Like I had just been, this was me. So that moment on the patio with my ma and with, her boyfriend and my friends, that moment still means so much more to me than the pain that I felt when I was like in 8th grade and through freshman year. Like it transcends it. It allows me to understand that the people that are around me and the people who care about me are kinfolk. They're not friends. They're like kin to me. And so, for her, it was her having to like deprogram and me having to give her grace to do that, and allowing her to really just recognize that I've always been myself. And she's the inspiration why I design. Growing up, she used to ask me to help her get dressed. Like, Michael, what shoes go with this? Or like, what top does this, what top should I wear? Or should I wear this lip liner? And like, my mom was just so like vibrant and young. And when you get older, you forget your parents were people. They were actually like trying to live.
Right.
So you have to get to a space of like realizing like, no, like she had to grow as well. And I had to allow that growth to happen. And now we're just very close, and she's just been supporting me my entire life. So,
wow, it's really beautiful to hear that, because you kept saying, I had to allow her to grow. I had to allow her to learn. I had to allow her, right? That's really quite beautiful, because you're right. A lot of the times, especially I think for families who are very religious, right? Because religion, it's so interesting, which I wanted to know your opinion on that. But with, I don't know, not religion, but like, let's say just God, right?
Yeah.
God. Because when we learn about God, Jesus, right? He was helping everybody, poor. He was, all of this beautiful story. And when you read the Bible, it's just love your neighbor, be respectful, all of these things. But when you bring that down to just humans and church, it becomes very political. It becomes very, very hateful. It becomes this thing that is not what God is about.
Right.
But yet, the Christian kept saying, it's the God. It's like, but you're not what the God. And I always think like, if Jesus came down again, they would kill him again, because he is the love that wants to help everybody, So you were growing up religious.
Yes.
Where are you at now? Are you still religious? You more spiritual? Do you believe in God and higher power?
Yeah.
Like where are you at with that now?
Yeah, so I definitely believe in God. It may not be Judeo-Christian. It may not be an Anglo way of thinking. But in Yoruban spirituality, the Orisha are extensions of what God is, right? So my belief is just based off of the spirituality of the motherland, right? Like it's not something that is derivative of that. It's something that I'm trying to actually get to and learn more about. And studying Ifa and kind of learning just about the spirituality, it really has always felt like that's how it's essentially saying this is how I've always felt, if that makes sense. Like what I'm reading and what I'm learning is how I've always felt about God, is how I've always felt about guides and the Orisha, and I'm always praying to God, my ancestors, and my guides, just because I believe it is all encompassing, and you have a network. When you're here on this planet, you have a network, and for people who don't have a spirituality to people who do, I truly believe that at the end of the day, no one gets ahead or moves forward in life alone. So whether that's the kinfolk around you, whether that's your spirituality, whether that's the way you feel about yourself, nobody gets anywhere alone. And for me, spirituality is way more vast and important than religion. And when we talk about religion, there is this aspect of conformity, right? As to where if you know that you were put on this planet to be you, you can't conform and fit into a box for anybody else. So why are you trying to do that? And I truly believe the most holy thing you can do is live your life audaciously and authentically and purely as yourself. I hope that people now, since we're moving into another 4 years of madness, I hope that people really can start leaning on that, because if you're able to communicate and then have community, even through all of your differences, even through your different ideologies, that's how we get ahead. Like, it's okay for you to be different. It's also okay for you to reach out if you need help. It's also okay to admit when you're wrong. It's okay to say, this idea didn't work out. What can we do to make it better? Like for me, like spirituality has just always been me. Always. I've always felt the way I've felt. I've always felt like I live life through spirit. Yes, I present and identify as male, but that's not important to me, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's for me, it's I just operate as myself. My pronouns are, if you say he, if you say she, if you say they, I'm never offended. Okay. Just because I'm me. I'm okay with being me. I love being me. And, it took a long time to get here. You know what I mean? So I just want people to always feel like that. And if you're able to really love you, just you're able to really love and communicate and commune with others,
Oh, Michael, that is so beautiful. I think that's all we can do, right? To just be us. I was in this conference and this woman was speaking and she said, you have to be you. You ain't got nothing better, right? Yes. Like that's all you can do. Yeah. But also, you're right. We are moving again. Feels like we are watching the sequel of a really bad movie. It's like, why did we make that again? That was horrible.
Why are you going back to the ex that you know is not good for you? And I feel like I have to say this, and I want people to understand that this is coming from my experience and my point of view. You cannot lead if you lead in fear. You can't lead anyone if your messaging has to do with the otherism. Like there's no way for us to get ahead. And if we're continually blaming other people for the issues, when in fact it's like, no, all of us could be doing better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
Then it's never going to change. And so, I feel for people who feel disenfranchised all over, because I, of course, feel that way too.
Yeah.
But it does not. You can be angry at the way that you've been feeling, but it does not excuse your racism, your womanization, your hatred towards anybody else. Like, just because you have been hurt does not mean you get to go out and hurt other people. And I think that is where we're at. It's this, like, to hear people say things about migrants and to horrible things, and to say horrible things about women, like, you know, your body, my choice. Like, that's insane to me, right? And so we have to really get to a spot where we can say, okay, yes, these disenfranchised communities, these people who have felt neglected are hurting. We all are hurting. How do we all come together to fix that? That's what we have to do, instead of us being like, it's your fault, it's your fault. We know that there are situations or powers that be that have really hurt us, and we really need to talk about those things: white supremacy, misogyny, patriarchy. Like, those things need to be addressed and discussed. You can't erase that from history, no matter how many books you ban. You can't do that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, really focus on addressing the situation, because that's the only way we're going to get better. And also reflect on yourself, because sometimes, you know, you have to check yourself in order to, like, really move forward. Sometimes you can be the cause and effect of certain situations. And if you're not able to, like, take a moment and step back and be like, okay, how did I operate? Was that the best way? And what can I do to move forward? Like, you have to be able to do those things. You just can't operate in the world thinking that you're not a part of the problem.
It's always easier to blame it on somebody else, right? But you're right. We all have some things inside of us that we can do better and be better about,
Yes.
right? But, and, you know, a lot of the times when we see, because, you know, a lot of people are angry about either way, you know, the election. But it's like, and we always think like, oh my gosh, I'm just one person. What can I do? What can I do? And it's like, you can do little steps. You don't, because when we think about, you know, it's like, what is that saying? How do you put elephant, or how do you eat an elephant, or how do you put the elephant in the fridge, right? Like, you have to do step by step. And if we just, okay, what can I do as a person, as a creative, as a parent to make this world better? Then those, you know, and then I was listening to a podcast this morning. Yeah, I listen to podcasts. I do the podcast. Podcast is my world.
Right.
But this woman was saying, look what you can do within yourself, within your family, within your friend group, within your church or community or whatever. Because when you think, how can I change this big, you know, United States of America? It's horrible. It's this. But I was talking with Bella yesterday, and we were saying how much goodness it is in the world. Because we see this, you know, this horrible things. And I'm not saying that horrible things are not happening.
Right.
They are all over the world, in our country, on other countries, right? But there's also so many good things. And when you turn on the news, it's like, you know, one side or the other keep scaring people, keep like pinning people against each other. But I feel like we as creative can do so much, can create these things. You know, we're going to talk about, you know, your fashion show and how I felt there is like these little communities, right? And then we can make an impact and make it bigger and better. And that's how we make change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're, and I love that point, like the small things. The least you could do is sign a petition. Like, that's the least you could do.
Yeah.
If somebody's asking you just, hey, this is what I believe in, if that is something that you don't want to happen, you could sign that. Right? Not everybody has the access or the resources to enact change through a monetary space, right?
Exactly.
So at least you could do is sign something. But I have seen how Black femmes and Black trans women and Black women have been treated my entire life. So I always try to create safe spaces. So I'll do Sunday dinners and invite all the black femmes in my life, or the black kinfolk around me. And like, hey, let me cook for you. It's just that. It's just to show them that they matter. It's to show them that that I am here, that I believe in them, that I support the dreams that you have. You can go and support your kinfolk or your friends' businesses. You can. There are so many different things that you can do to show that you care and to help build community. There's also just putting yourself out there, and I know it's hard, and I hope I'm speaking to all of the young BIPOC and BIPOC queer people, queer and trans people, but like putting yourself out there, taking a step out on yourself is one of the craziest, scariest, bravest things you can do, because your story is something that needs to be heard, and you never know how much impact you have on people. So, really like stepping out, putting your work out there, putting your music, your art, your design, your fashion, your architecture, whatever it is that you're into, putting yourself out there is truly going to inspire other people to do the same. And so it's just those small things that you can do. There's also like volunteering for certain organizations, or working with other organizations, or devoting 5 hours a week to, whether it's a campaign or, some type of effort. One of my really close friends, Shannon Major, started Gen Den, and she was at the show. And she was experiencing, life, finding out that, oh, my daughter is, my daughter, I have a trans daughter now, and how do I support her, and what am I seeing that's not available or accessible to her and then other trans youth, right? So being able to just take your own experience and saying, I'm not seeing this, let me put this out here. Even if it's affecting just a portion of your community, maybe it's not the whole world, maybe it's just Colorado, right?
Yeah.
At least you're able to make that change somewhere. Just put yourself out there, put your ideas out there, put your kindness and your love out there. Let that lead you, because I think a lot of people have ego when it comes to either being out there or being a socialite or whatever the case is.
Right.
I'm trying not to operate in an ego space. I'm not, or egotistical space or egocentric. I'm really trying to operate life in a community focused realm. Like there's not, you want to do it the best way you can, and you're going to make mistakes. But if you're leading with authenticity, if you're able to kind of just navigate your own feelings and your own experiences into helping other people who are experiencing the same thing, I think that people vibe with that. People are able to say, okay, you're really about it, so let me try to help too,
Absolutely. I think that's, whatever you do, if you can help, if you can impact one person, and then that person impacts the other, that's what we can do. I love what you said, put the love and the good energy in the universe, and it's so, I'm forgetting the word, it's good. It's good. So we have to do that and be better about that. So I don't know if I can ask this question, but I will, because you're part of LGBTQ community, and you keep saying queer and gay. What is the difference between those?
So and this is again, like, I'm not speaking for all of us,
of course,
right? But there are differences between queer people and gay people, or how queer and trans folks are not a monolith, so you can't just put them into like, oh, you're gay and this is who you are and this is how you operate. And when I say I'm a queer person, that has to do not just with my sexuality. That has to do with just who I am. The way I choose to express myself, the way I choose to dress, the way I choose to create. I am a queer person. And yes, I have I'm in I'm in an amazing relationship with a man.
Yeah.
But I think that when it comes to like, queerness in general, queerness has everything. It's essentially the umbrella, and then everything falls underneath it. So queer, then you have bi, gay, trans, asexual, intersexual. Like you have all of those things. I think that the queerness is, or my queerness is just a part of the umbrella. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so I don't know. I just feel like there's so many labels and there's so many like things. I'm like, I'm just me, babe. Like,
Yeah.
I just happen to love dudes and like, like
Exactly.
one dude in particular, my boyfriend. But no, I think that that's just it. Is that like queerness is undefined. It's just you.
Yeah.
And yes, we can fall underneath that umbrella. And I think I take pride in representing myself and helping other BIPOC, queer and trans folks, and hearing their voices and telling our stories and doing that through my work. I just know I don't speak for all of us.
Yeah.
And I want to create a space where all of us can speak. That's it. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about what you said I don't speak for everybody. I think that's a big problem that we have now, and that's why it's so hard to communicate with people that don't agree with us, because when you saying something, you like, okay, this is my experience, this is how I've experienced, this is how I see it. But another person who also may be part of the LGBT doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Or or when somebody's talking about what I don't know, like feminism or whatever. It's like, this is how I see it. It might not be the same as you see it, but then we're like, well, you're wrong. That's not right. And, and then it becomes like this whole thing is like, wait a minute. I am allowed to have my experience and how I see things,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's always this box, right, that people say, like, if you say you're a feminist, it's exactly the same. And I know for a fact that I know, and I say this because I've seen it, and I see what it looks like. There's a difference between how Black feminism or Black feminists experience life versus their counterparts or their white counterparts. There's
Absolutely.
a huge difference, and so you gotta. I think the thing is that like when you say, let's say like feminism is the umbrella and there's everything underneath that, you have to be able to say, okay, you're experiencing something different, and whether or not I'm navigating a world where my feminism is aligning with misogyny and white supremacy, right? Like there's that like really thin line in that curve. Like, can we just discuss it? Because if you can discuss it, then you can move forward. But sometimes I feel like when it comes to specific movements, right, it's segregated and it's not benefiting everyone.
It's
and
not.
we can all eat. Everybody, we should all be able to eat, right? And so it shouldn't just be, oh, you should only be able to eat in this subsection in this pay range, and like
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like that. So I think that we all need to, when it comes to even the LGBTQIA movements and different things like that, like Black Lives Matter, like everything that we're trying to do, there's rooted in good. There's some good that comes out of it. I just think that we need to figure out what we're all doing inside of these movements to make sure that everything is beneficial for everybody and everything is equitable. So yeah, I hear you, because I feel like it's not, have your opinions, and your opinion shouldn't dictate how somebody else lives, right?
Yeah.
Nor should the way that somebody else lives dictate the way that I live, right? We can have those differences of opinions, but what we can't do is sit here and say, well, my opinion is valid and I should be able to tell you what to do with your body, or I should be able to tell you to do with your life or whatever. So
Exactly. I think we need to get somehow to the point where we can hear each other, really give somebody space and just hear each other. So before we move to your beautiful fashion house that you created, I wanted to ask you, one last question of
Yeah.
so you are a part of LGBTQ, but also you are a black man
Yeah.
in America,
Yeah.
because we have all this disenfranchised community. In we're
Yes.
just talking about US, right?
Yeah.
And you are part of too.
Yeah.
So tell me how you've been able to navigate the the love, but also the hate that comes from people.
Ooh, I mean, I still am.
Mm.
I think I will always be, because I think, you know, things change. People grow. Some people say the same. Like, things are gonna change. I truly believe in life. You have to be able to maneuver. I don't believe, and I'll preface this before I get to this question. But like, when it comes to a goal or ambition or just being myself, there was never a space where I was not going to get to that.
Yeah.
There may have been obstacles, there may have been the storms, whatever. Growing up, they said the trials and tribulations in church, right? Like, there may have been trials and tribulations, but I had to maneuver to get to that. There was nothing, there was no one, there was not a thing that was going to stand in my way to get to where that was, right? So when we talk about like the navigation of being both black and queer, and then also on top of that, a male presenting person, it is still something that is a constant. Because as a black queer person, a black queer man, I was not taught how to love another black queer man. That is something I had to navigate.
Yeah.
I was not taught how to hold my head up high as a black queer person. I was taught to hold my head up high as a black man, but not somebody who was queer. So it's like that's still a navigation in that space. So it's still something that I'm learning and growing through. And I want to continue that, because I think you should live life as a student and die as a teacher. But when I think about where I am now, the way that I navigate it is creating spaces. And whether that means, I'm planning a BIPOC business forum for this year, planning some more social events this year. I want to do a book drive. There are certain things that I want to do and I want to create through what I'm already doing, because that's the way I'm navigating it. That's the way I'm able to move through it. And it's really hard being optimistic sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think positivity can be toxic.
Of course.
So I allow myself to feel angry and have pain. Like, this is just one part of me, right? Like, right now I feel very calm and I feel like I'm in a loving space. And there are some moments where I'm just like, I'm raging,
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I should be allowed to have that anger, right? So, the navigation is just something that I'm just now touching. I'm 33. I feel so good in my 30s. It's crazy. Like, I just want everybody to know you're gonna feel really good. Hopefully, I'm
30
sending you
is
that
so
praying.
good.
30 feels so good. Just because now it's like, no, baby, this is me, and I just have to like elevate who this is, right? I'm still getting to a point where I'm discovering new parts of myself.
Yeah.
And allowing the people around me to discover them too, and not hiding parts of who I am, and still being okay with making mistakes. Because I think that also really is something that people need to do, is be okay with making the mistake. Address that mistake, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so easy for you to be like, oh, I made a mistake, lesson learned. No, babe. Like, you have to address it in order to learn it. It's a learning curve. But you just have to do that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be something that's continuous. I don't think that I have yet fully navigated. I've just been able to navigate up until this point, and we're in a new year, so we'll see what this brings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. Now this brings me to your house, your fashion house. And hold Hold on, I have to read something.
Okay.
So Michael co-founded House, so clothing like fashion house. Is that right that I'm saying?
It's house. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So House stands for honoring art and unifying souls. Tell me about the name.
Yes.
Because I love a good name.
Yeah, it's there's so many meanings in house, right? So I always wanted to start a design house because I felt as though the other design houses. So when you look at Dior, when you look at Jean Paul Gaultier, Christian Lacroix, gosh, I mean, I could list. When you look at certain design houses, they're not necessarily people who look like me, either working or in head positions in these design houses. But you would see what my community was wearing in the runways, right? House is what it looks like when the mood board matches the team. And I want people to understand.
Oh,
that.
I love
that. That is what it is. Like we represent ourselves, our community, our communities, our stories. That's where I'm at with house. And so when I started thinking about house, going back to little Michael, in 8th grade is when I started doing sketches. And so I was either going to go to school for forensic pathology. I had looked into going to Arizona State because they had a really great program at the time. And I was like, yeah, that's something I could do. And then I heard you smell like the morgue when you work with dead bodies or something like that. And I said, you know what? That's not that's not it for me. So let's not do that, babe. But I said no. Everything is pointing to art and design and fashion. And so from then I was sketching. Then I taught myself how to sew in high school. So I started doing things for sewing in theater when we had some theater shows. So I just started doing a few things. And then it moved into, it kind of moved into me getting into college. So I did 2 10-piece collections. So I did 2 collections that had 10 looks.
Yeah.
That got me a portfolio grant to AAU. And that's the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. I got that portfolio grant, and then I moved. And that's when I really started thinking, it's like, no, I really want to create something that is a space for myself and people in my community and people who are experiencing these things, and we can create good work and keep growing and really build something and build a legacy. I want there to be a legacy with house. It's not something that I do for fun or shits and giggles. I want this to be something where it's like, no, this is for us, by us. And so my best friends, Lindsay Von Leach and Shatara Wright, in college, I was like, this is what I want to do. I was in San Francisco for 2.5 years. It got really hard. I was working 3 jobs and going to school full time, and things just weren't working. So and this is a part of the journey, y'all, but I stopped going to AAU. I moved back home, and I felt like a failure because I had written this 5-year list in high school, and the one thing that hadn't been done on that list was starting your own business. So I was 22 at the time.
Okay.
So I had 1 more year to go to get this 5-year list together. And so I had a conversation with Lindsay. I had a conversation with Shatara, and we talked about starting a design house. And it started as the House of Von Leach and Sullivan. And then it turned into house. Lindsay went in a different direction, which is okay because sometimes your kinfolk, your friends, they just have to move and operate in a different space of life.
Yeah.
And then Shatara moved into another direction, and so we dissolved the House of Von Leach and Sullivan. It became House, and honoring art, unifying souls is something that I try to do every day, and that's why we call it House. But also it's the German house spelling, and that's that's an homage to my mom. So yeah, everything has its own little meaning, but yeah, that's literally how house became what it is, and it's growing, and I'm growing, and it's really hard. I don't think people understand what the journey is like. You have to be willing to make those sacrifices. Sometimes I will have to be like, okay, well, I'm paying these models, so I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to have to like postpone this or pay this bill or move. Sometimes it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, like kind of thing. Especially when you're starting out. There are good months, then there's not so good months. But you have to, as a creative, as somebody who's an entrepreneur or whatever the case is, you have to maneuver through life this way. Because it's going to be highs and lows, just as if you were to work like a 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Your life doesn't just stay like this.
No.
It doesn't just coast. You have to really be able to, damn, it's really low, but keep that energy, keep that faith within yourself, keep that faith within your guides, whatever the case is for you. Allow spirit, allow God, allow your grandparents, allow your mother, like allow that energy to guide you through it, because it is not going to happen the way that you think it is.
No, and you know what I read is like, you in those moments where you low, you have to believe in yourself even more, because nobody else will believe in you the way you believe in yourself. So you have to like get that. Okay, so now I wanted to Now I wanted to just pay you a really big compliment and talk the things that I've learned about you, and then I've seen you without you going and parading and like saying, oh, this is what I do. So first of all, Michael, with his fashion house, went to New York Fashion Week twice.
Yes.
Which is incredible and amazing, and I hope you're feeling super proud of that.
Yeah. Not the tears coming. Damn.
So, because you see the work that you put in. Then, was it last week that was your fashion show, or 2 weeks?
Yeah, last week.
It was my first fashion show. I remember, so because my husband was doing the video and photographing, and so I came in. Bella was going to come with me, but she got stuck in the mountain. So I was like, and I asked another friend, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm missing this. She's like, I'm sick. Maybe I can put a mask. She's like, no, I can't come. Actually, I don't want to get anybody sick. So then I remember I come in, it was in this beautiful theater. I come in, and there's two people in the, like, who checking in. And I was like, hi, this is my first time. I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, you can put your coat here and go get yourself a drink. I'm like, all right, there's a bar, so let's go there. And it was just, first of all, again, I've never been to one, so it was just so like, I just felt like, oh my gosh, look at me.
That's really sweet.
But another thing was that I loved, so this is like my second event with you, because I came to Cinema Q that you were part of.
Yes.
And I just remember after that first event, the Cinema Q, thinking, oh my gosh, this is so amazing and beautiful and so inclusive, and everybody just like, I just was feeling like everybody were able to be themselves and were able to express who they are. And I remember driving back home, I was thinking like, what are people like problem, right? Because you can be in the space with people who look different than you, who love somebody that different, but it's like, how is that affect my life? How is who you love or who you date or what you believe affect me and my everyday life? It affects me zero. You know what I mean? So like, I'm like, why are people so hateful, so like, and I felt exactly like that at your fashion show. It was like, I met so many incredible people, and just everybody were like themselves, and it's so nice to be in a space like that, to where there is so much love and inclusivity and just good energy and good vibes and all of that. So I have to tell you that what you're doing in the world with your fashion, with how just even having this conversation, how you're like, I am me, this is me, I know who I am, I know what I want to do, and and how you help people, it's so inspiring.
Thank you. Irina, stop. Man, no, thank you. And I really, there was not a lot of, there wasn't and there isn't a lot of people who look like me in spaces that I saw myself in. And what I really wanted to focus on as I grew up was like changing that, and being able to invite you and other people into a room where it's like we're all ourselves, we're all different, we're able to express ourselves and learn from each other. Like that's really important to me. And having the show in like historic, 5 Points area is also a message too. Yeah. For an area that's been gentrified so much to where the black and brown community, I think it's less than 12% in this area or something,
it's
and it used to be a huge black and brown community, right? So just being able to have that message too, like things change, but also like honor the spaces that you're in. Doing the show really helped remind me a lot of those things. The collection I showed is called Then and Now, and I really wanted it to be a conversation regarding where we were and where we are, and has that changed. Because my grandfather grew up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He grew up seeing hangings. He grew up seeing people hurt, black people being beaten. He grew up seeing that. So to see it now, and my grandfather to have, passed, seeing it, that's the discussion. What has changed, and what is the same, or have things changed, or is it a different face? And so I wanted there to be this conversation of gender equality, also the gender construct, also transphobia and homophobia within the black community. I wanted that to be a discussion. And so I had these black butterflies throughout the collection. Yeah. So you can kind of see them like placed on different pieces, kind of like traveling past the heart, right? Because we're in a space where I was in a cocoon. I was like, I call it cocooning myself. Like I was growing and nurturing and kind of like trying to figure these things out in the past. And now I've started to like recognize certain things, and I can come out of my cocoon. I can come out of that shell. I can be me. And I want people to feel like that. And we really need to look back to the past so that we don't repeat that, repeat it, and repeat that harm and that hurt and that pain. So doing this collection was really, really important to me. And as I grow and I design and I start to build, and continue to build this house, I want to see evolution in my work the same way I want to see an evolution in the world. And, the silhouettes chosen were really embarking on this idea of like Black Ivy or Black Ivy League, and what that meant back then, and what does it mean now? Yeah. And there's so much beauty in all facets of blackness and all facets of queerness, right? And in black and queerness, right? Because you can be both black and queer. Seeing the beauty in all of us. And then when I speak specifically of the black community, we still have a lot of growing to do. We shouldn't be saying you are valid as a black person if you're only this way. So it was really important for me to kind of get this out of me, because I feel like in a lot of ways this collection is everything. It's kind of like that collection where you're like, no, this is what I wanted to say, and I've said it, and now I can I'm actually moving forward. I feel more confident in what I'm trying to say now. Yeah. Right. So seeing it, I was like looking at photos, and Roy sent me some photos, and like seeing it reminded me of that kid I was. Yeah. Because I always saw myself doing this. There was not a moment where I thought I wouldn't be doing what I am doing. Yeah. And I just want people to to experience that, to love themselves, to love other people, to love freely, to care, to listen to each other, express themselves, not to shrink themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this collection really spoke to me. It was like an homage to my grandfather, just because he had such beautiful style. And I really want people to, like, know that shit is tough. It is hard, but it is also so beautiful. And when you make it, when you allow yourself to shatter and you're able to rebuild anew, there's no other greater feeling. I think we're afraid to allow ourselves to just break. Sometimes you have to break in order to realize that I can't stay the same. I can't be this anymore. I'm no longer this. Break, shatter, do what you have to, and you will pick yourself up, and allow yourself to pick yourself up and allow that time to happen. Don't rush it, but go ahead and just pick yourself up and keep moving. I really want people to be in that space.
Oh, Michael, I love seeing that those emotion in you that are coming out, and what you said that about the little Michael. I bet he's so proud of you.
I hope so.
He's so proud of you, and you should be like extremely proud, because we need more people like you, because you, with your creativity, right, what you're doing with your clothes, with how you including everybody, because everybody deserves to be seen and deserve to be heard and deserve to be loved, and you see that in your events, and I hope to be present in more of your events, because I love that. No matter, at the end of the day, we're all humans looking for love and acceptance, and to be seen, right? We all looking for that, no matter who you are. Deep inside, I feel like we are all good. So thank you for doing what you do, and for the love that you're spreading, because it's magnificent and amazing and beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Irina. I appreciate you, and I appreciate being in this space you've created. And it's crazy because 4 is my favorite number, and then blue is my favorite color. And it's like, I don't know. I don't believe in coincidence, but I feel like that it's just wild to be in your first show in your 4th season, and you having 4 seasons is amazing. So congrats.
Dang. Michael, thank you so much for coming. And I know there's so much more to your story, and I hope that we can do something together more in the future. And I know we will. I am now you're my friend, so when I have my friends, I'm not letting them go. So you're really an amazing human and hard worker, and I love. Thank you for coming, for being my first guest of season 4. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure talking with you.